The grand chamber of the tribunal floated in the center of the galaxy, a massive station where representatives from 300 species gathered to maintain what they called the Great Peace. For 10,000 years, no war had touched the stars. No species fought over territory. No military fleets patrolled the borders between worlds. The tribunal had achieved perfect order, and they were proud of it. Taemin sat in the human section of the chamber, his hands folded neatly on the crystalline desk before him. Beside him, Jiwoo reviewed documents on her datapad, her expression calm and pleasant. They had been representatives for 5 years now, always agreeing with the tribunal's decisions, always nodding at the right moments, always speaking in soft tones that never challenged the ancient species who truly ran things. The session that day was routine, a mining dispute between 2 colonies, a request to expand farming zones, a celebration of another century without conflict. Taemin voted yes on everything. Jiwoo smiled at everyone. They played their roles perfectly, but something had changed recently. Inspector Vex Thorin, a tall creature with 4 eyes and skin like polished stone, had been watching the human sectors more closely. His people were known for their attention to detail, for noticing patterns others missed. 3 weeks ago, his deep space monitors had detected unusual energy readings from human colony zones. Not dangerous readings, just unusual. The numbers were slightly off, like someone had tried too hard to make everything look normal. When Vexithorin sent inspection teams to investigate, they found nothing wrong. The human colonies were clean, organized, and fully compliant with every regulation. The humans welcomed the inspectors with smiles and offered them tea. Everything checked out perfectly. Too perfectly. The session ended, and Taemin stood to leave. Vexithorin approached him in the corridor outside the chamber. The inspector's 4 eyes studied the human carefully. "Your colonies are very efficient," Vexithorin said. "Thank you," Taemin replied with a gentle smile. "We try our best to follow all regulations. Perhaps too efficient. The energy consumption patterns match your reported activities exactly, not approximately. Exactly. In my 300 years of inspection work, I have never seen such perfect compliance." Taemin's smile never wavered. "We keep very accurate records, or very accurate lies," Vexthorin said quietly. "I am watching you, human."
"I do not know what you are hiding, but I will find it." Taemin bowed respectfully and walked away.
His smile remained until he turned the corner. Then his face became serious. He touched the small device behind his ear and whispered in Korean, "They are getting suspicious. We need to move faster." That evening, the tribunal chamber filled again for an emergency session. A human ship called the Morning Star had been seized by the Krillian Dominion for crossing into forbidden space. This was not unusual. The galaxy was divided into strict zones, and crossing boundaries without permission was a serious crime. The punishment was also not unusual. The crew would be executed within 48 hours. What was unusual was that a human ship captain named Dong Ha had requested permission to address the tribunal. Such requests were rarely granted to younger species, but the tribunal council leader, an ancient being called the First Speaker, allowed it. Dong Ha entered the chamber. He was not dressed in formal robes like Taemin and Jiwoo. He wore a simple ship captain's uniform, and his face showed none of the pleasant submission the tribunal expected from humans. He looked tired and angry. "The Morning Star was on a research mission," Dong Ha said, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. "They did not enter forbidden space intentionally. A navigation error pushed them across the boundary by less than 1 light hour. They corrected course immediately. The Krillians seized them anyway. The law is clear," the first speaker replied. "Boundary violations carry automatic penalties. Your crew knew the risks. They are scientists," Dong Ha said, his voice rising. "Not criminals. They made a mistake. Execution is not justice. The law must be upheld equally for all species," a Krillian representative said, his translator rendering his clicks and whistles into common language. "No exceptions." Dong Ha looked at Taemin and Jiwoo. They both looked down at their desks, their expressions carefully neutral. Dong Ha's jaw tightened. "Then I request the tribunal intervene. Negotiate for their release. Commute the sentence to imprisonment or fines. Anything but execution." The tribunal council conferred for exactly 90 seconds. Then the first speaker delivered their decision. "The request is denied. The Krillian Dominion has acted within established law. The tribunal will not intervene in lawful justice. Jiwoo's hands trembled slightly on her desk. Taemin closed his eyes for a moment. Dongha stood very still, his face unreadable. "I see," Dongha finally said. "Thank you for your consideration." He turned and walked out of the chamber. His footsteps echoed in the silence. When the doors closed behind him, the tribunal moved on to other business. Another mining dispute, another celebration of peace, another day of perfect order. That night, Taemin and Jiwoo packed their quarters on the tribunal station. They moved quickly and efficiently, taking only essential items. Jiwoo's hands had stopped trembling, but her eyes were hard now, filled with something that had not been there before. "Are we really doing this?" she asked quietly. "We just watched them sentence 12 humans to death for crossing an imaginary line in space," Taemin replied. "Yes, we are doing this." They left through a service corridor that their records said they had never visited. Their departure was not noticed by station security. The human delegation quarters sat empty, but it would be hours before anyone checked. On the lower docks, a human transport ship waited. Dongha stood at the airlock. Behind him, the ship's crew prepared for immediate departure. These were not the pleasant, submissive humans the galaxy had come to expect. These people moved with purpose and precision, speaking in quick coded phrases, checking weapons that no registered human ship was supposed to have. "Is everything ready?" Taemin asked as he boarded. "Hyunji's team is in position," Dongha replied. "They jump in 17 hours, and the colonies? Already moving. 300 ships left their assigned zones in the last 6 hours. The tribunal does not know yet." Jiwoo looked back at the tribunal station one last time. It hung in space like a jewel, beautiful and ancient and absolutely certain of its authority. She felt no sadness leaving it behind. 200 years, she said softly. 200 years of saying yes and smiling and pretending we were content in our cage. No more. The ship's engines hummed to life. Within minutes, they were away from the station, accelerating toward the edge of controlled space. Behind them, the tribunal continued its session, unaware that everything was about to change. In his inspection office, Vexithorin noticed the energy readings from human sectors spiking dramatically. Ships were moving. Facilities were powering down. Something massive was happening, and it was already too late to stop it. The Morningstar's crew had less than 40 hours to live. But in the dark spaces between stars, where the tribunal's sensors could not reach, a woman named Hyunji checked her weapons one final time and reviewed the fortress station's schematics. She had done this kind of work before, though the galaxy did not know it. The galaxy did not know many things about humans. That was about to change. 20 hours after the tribunal denied humanity's request, every news network in the galaxy exploded with the same impossible story. The Morningstar's crew had vanished. Not escaped. Vanished. The detention fortress where they were held, a Krillian military station that had contained prisoners for 3 centuries without a single breach, now sat in space with its security systems destroyed and its cells empty. The fortress commander was still alive, locked in his own detention cell with his entire staff. They kept repeating the same thing to investigators. They never saw it coming. Security footage told a story that should not have been possible. 6 humans appeared on the station at 400 station time. The external sensors showed no approaching ships. The docking clamps showed no unauthorized access. The humans were simply there, inside the fortress, as if they had materialized from nothing. They moved through the corridors like water flowing around stones. Every security checkpoint failed before they reached it. Every automated defense turret powered down seconds before they passed. Every locked door opened at their approach. The lead human was a woman whose face appeared in no database, no registry, no identification system in the known galaxy. The tribunal's analysts would later identify her as Hyunji from her voice patterns, but in that moment, she was a ghost. The operation took 17 minutes from start to finish. The human team reached the detention block, released the Morningstar's crew, and then did something unexpected. They opened every other cell too. 24 prisoners from 6 different species, all held by the Krillians on charges that were legally questionable, walked free. Some had been imprisoned for decades. The humans and freed prisoners moved to the fortress's main hangar. A ship waited there, though every record showed the hangar had been empty. The humans loaded everyone aboard, And then the woman called Hyunji did something that made every military analyst in the galaxy stop breathing when they saw the footage. She turned to face the security camera directly. She smiled, and she spoke in perfect Krillian. Tell your tribunal that humans remember every prisoner you have ever wrongly held. We remember every execution you called justice. We remember every species you have silenced, and we will not forget. Then the ship was gone, not jumped to faster than light, not launched through the hangar doors, simply gone, leaving a faint energy signature that matched no known propulsion technology. The tribunal convened an emergency session within the hour. Every species representative was present, and for the first time in 10,000 years the chamber was not calm. Voices rose in anger and confusion. The Krillian representative demanded immediate military action. The older species called for investigation first. Everyone had questions and no one had answers. The human seats were empty. Taemin and Jiwoo were gone. Their quarters on the station had been cleaned out. Their official vessels were missing from the docks. Deep space tracking showed something even more disturbing. Dozens of human ships were leaving their assigned colonies, all heading in the same direction, all moving toward the galaxy's edge. Inspector Vexathorin stood at his station, watching the data streams with growing horror. His suspicions had been correct, but he had vastly underestimated the scale. The unusual energy readings were not from one hidden facility. They were from hundreds. Every human colony had a shadow, a secret counterpart where humans had been building something while smiling and nodding at tribunal inspectors. How long? The first speaker asked Vex Thorin. How long have they been preparing this? Since they arrived, Vex Thorin replied quietly. 200 years. Every moment they appeared compliant, they were planning. Every treaty they signed, they were studying our weaknesses. We thought they were simple. We were wrong. A transmission request came through on the tribunal's main channel. It was an open broadcast, sent to every station, every ship, every colony in the galaxy. The source was a vessel in deep space moving fast toward the boundary zones. The first speaker accepted the transmission, and the main screen lit up. Dongha appeared, but he was not the tired, angry ship captain who had pleaded for mercy the day before. He wore tactical gear, military-grade equipment that no civilian should possess. Behind him stood Taemin and Jiwoo, also in combat attire, no longer playing their diplomatic roles. And beside them was Hyunji, the woman from the fortress footage, cleaning a weapon with casual efficiency. The tribunal chamber fell silent. For 200 years we played by your rules, Dongha said. His voice was calm, but there was steel in it now. We came to you as a young species eager to join the galactic community. We signed your treaties. We accepted your boundaries. We settled on the worlds you assigned us. We smiled and bowed and pretended to be content. He paused, letting his words sink in. But we were not content. We watched as your tribunal trapped every species in amber. You called it peace, but it was prison. You forbade exploration beyond designated zones. You banned military advancement. You executed anyone who dared to dream of something more. You created a galaxy where nothing changes, nothing grows, nothing challenges your ancient authority. Taemin stepped forward on the screen. His pleasant diplomatic smile was gone, replaced by something harder, colder. We submitted because we thought you were wise, Taemin said. We thought 10,000 years of peace meant you had learned something we had not. But we were wrong. You are not peacekeepers. You are wardens, and humans do not do well in cages. The screen changed. Now it showed footage that made the tribunal representatives lean forward in shock. Human ships, but not the registered civilian vessels. These were warships, sleek and deadly, built with technologies that should not exist. Construction facilities hidden in asteroid fields, massive and sophisticated. Training grounds where humans practice combat maneuvers. Research stations developing weapons and shields and propulsion systems that violated a dozen treaties. Every compliant human colony had a secret twin. Every trade ship had carried encrypted data between hidden facilities. Every diplomat had been gathering intelligence. For 2 centuries, while the galaxy believed humans were harmless and obedient, they had been preparing for this moment. Jiwoo appeared on the screen now, her voice steady and clear. You thought we were weak because we did not fight you, she said. You thought we were simple because we followed your rules. You thought we were grateful for the scraps of freedom you allowed us. You were wrong on every count. The footage showed more. Human scientists working on technologies the tribunal had banned. Human engineers building ships in the dark. Human soldiers training for battles the galaxy thought would never come. Everything was precise, organized, and far more advanced than a species 200 years old should have managed. "We are leaving your galaxy," Dongha said, returning to the center of the screen. "We are taking our people, our ships, and our dreams to the dark spaces beyond your borders. We will build something new out there, something you forgot how to create, a place where species can grow, explore, and reach for more." He leaned closer to the camera. "Do not follow us. Do not send your fleets. Do not try to bring us back. We are not your subjects anymore. We are not your criminals. We are pioneers, and you cannot stop us without breaking the very peace you claim to protect." Yunji stepped into view one last time. "And if you try," she said softly, "you will learn that humans are very, very good at war. We studied every conflict in your history. We learned from every mistake. We know how to fight in ways you have forgotten. For your sake, let us go peacefully." The transmission ended. The tribunal chamber sat in stunned silence. Then the shouting began. Some species demanded immediate military response. Others urged caution. The Krillians called for human extinction. The older, wiser species warned that attacking might cost more than anyone wanted to pay. But one thing was clear to everyone watching. Humanity had been playing a game for 200 years, and the tribunal had never realized they were players. The pleasant, submissive humans had been a mask, and behind that mask was something the galaxy had not seen in 10,000 years. Something dangerous. Something unstoppable. Something free. The vote would come soon. But in the dark between stars, human ships were already jumping away, already moving toward the edge of everything, already proving that some species refuse to be caged no matter how comfortable the prison appears. The tribunal's vote took 6 hours of heated debate, but the outcome was never really in doubt. Humanity had violated the sacred peace. They had deceived the entire galaxy. They had built weapons in secret and freed prisoners by force. They had to be stopped, or every other species would start to wonder if they too could simply leave. The military mobilization began immediately. For the first time in 10,000 years, the galaxy's warships powered up their weapon systems and set course for battle. 15 species contributed vessels to the task force, 3,000 warships ranging from small Brenthi frigates to massive Velthari dreadnoughts, assembled at the rally point near the galactic core. The fleet commander was Admiral Kethvar, a Velthari with 200 years of military education and 0 years of combat experience. No one in the fleet had ever fought a real battle. War was something they studied in historical archives, not something they practiced. But they had numbers, and they had confidence that came from 10 millennia of unchallenged authority. "We will intercept them before they reach the boundary," Kethvar announced to his captains. "We will give them one chance to surrender. If they refuse, we will disable their ships and return them to their assigned worlds. This will be quick and clean." The task force moved out, tracking the human fleet's trajectory. The humans were heading for the galactic edge at maximum speed, but they were burdened with cargo, with civilians, with entire populations fleeing their colonies. They could not outrun military interceptors forever. 3 weeks passed in pursuit. The human fleet stayed just ahead, always visible on long-range sensors, never quite close enough to catch. Some of the task force captains began to wonder if the humans were running or leading them somewhere. Kethvar dismissed these concerns. Fear made people see patterns where none existed. Then, near a gas giant in an outer system, the task force caught up to a human convoy, 5 cargo ships, heavy and slow, carrying supplies and refugees. They were separated from the main fleet, exposed and vulnerable. Kethvar felt a moment of satisfaction. Finally, they would end this chase. He opened a channel to the cargo ships. "This is Admiral Kethvar of the Tribunal Task Force. You are in violation of galactic law. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. You will not be harmed if you surrender peacefully." A response came back almost immediately. The voice was young, casual, almost bored. "This is Kijun, captain of the cargo vessel Bright Morning. We are not surrendering. We are not stopping. Move aside or try to stop us. Your choice." Kethvar felt his patience thin. "You are 5 cargo ships facing 3,000 warships. Be reasonable." "You first," Kijun replied, and closed the channel. Kethvar ordered warning shots fired across the convoy's path. Brilliant energy beams lit up space. The human ships did not slow down, did not alter course, did not respond. Growing annoyed, Kethvar ordered his fleet into blockade formation. They would surround the human convoy physically, use tractor beams and energy nets to force them to halt. Non-lethal, professional by the book. 200 warships moved into position around the 5 cargo vessels. Tractor beams locked on, energy nets deployed, the trap closed, and then the cargo ships opened up. Hatches that should have contained supplies instead revealed weapon systems. Point defense turrets emerged from false panels and began targeting the energy nets with terrifying precision. Missile pods that violated 6 different weapons treaties streaked toward the task force's tractor beam emitters. But the humans were not trying to destroy ships. Every shot was aimed at specific systems: propulsion, communications, navigation, weapons control. In 8 minutes, the vanguard of Kethvar's fleet was crippled. 200 warships sat dead in space, their crews unharmed but their vessels completely disabled. The damage was so precise, so surgical, that it was clear the humans knew exactly where to hit. They had studied these ships, knew their weaknesses, had planned for this exact scenario. A new voice came over the communications channel. Hyunji again, her tone almost apologetic. "We spent 200 years learning everything about your technology while you learned nothing about ours," she said. "You assumed we were primitive because we acted obedient. Fatal mistake. Your ships are intact. Your crews are safe. When we are gone, your systems will reboot. Consider this mercy, and do not make us demonstrate justice." The 5 cargo ships jumped away before the rest of the task force could respond. They left behind 200 disabled vessels and 3,000 shocked military personnel who were beginning to realize they had entered a fight they did not understand. Kethavar stared at the tactical display in disbelief. His people had invented the tractor beam technology. They had designed these ships. They had written the manuals on fleet tactics, and 5 human cargo vessels had dismantled his vanguard like it was nothing. Emergency meetings began among the task force command staff. Some wanted to turn back immediately. Others argued they needed reinforcements. A few, particularly the Krillian captains, demanded they press forward with overwhelming force. The humans were outnumbered. Eventually, numbers had to matter. But now everyone was afraid. Not of dying. The humans had proven they could kill but chose not to. The fear was worse than that. It was the fear of irrelevance, of discovering that their technology was outdated, their tactics obsolete, their entire military tradition worthless against an enemy that had studied them for 2 centuries, while they studied nothing. Back at the tribunal station, the vote was called again. Pursue and destroy humanity or let them go. The chamber was more divided now. Species that had been certain of victory were now uncertain of anything. The older species, those who remembered what war really cost, urged negotiation. The younger species, drunk on pride and embarrassed by defeat, demanded blood. The Krillian representative stood and spoke with cold fury. They humiliated us. They freed our prisoners, disabled our allies, and mock our authority. If we let them go, we admit that any species can simply ignore our laws and leave. The tribunal will collapse. We must show strength even if it costs us. The vote passed by a narrow margin. The task force would continue, but with reinforcements. 7,000 warships now drawn from 23 species. The entire military might of the galaxy, assembled for the first time in 10,000 years. Before the reinforced fleet departed, another human transmission arrived. The tribunal command staff debated whether to even play it, but curiosity won. The screen showed Jiwoo, but she was not on a ship. She stood on an asteroid in deep space, wearing an environment suit, stars visible behind her. The camera panned slowly to show an enormous structure built into the rock. A construction facility that should not exist, equipped with technologies that should not be possible. "You want to know what humans do best?" Jiwoo asked. "We survive. We adapt, we overcome. You trapped us in your system, so we learned to hide. You limited our resources, so we learned to improvise. You threatened us with force, so we learned to fight back." She gestured to the facility behind her. "This is just one of 17 facilities we built in your blind spots. Every star system you think you control, we have touched. Every forbidden zone you sealed off, we have explored. You made a galaxy-wide prison, and we spent 200 years digging tunnels under every wall." The camera zoomed in on her face. Her expression was not angry. It was sad. "You could have worked with us. You could have let us explore, grow, and contribute. You could have accepted that peace does not require chains. But you chose control over cooperation. You chose stagnation over growth. And now you are sending your fleets to force us back into our cage." She paused. "Let us go, please. Do not make us show you what else we have learned. Do not make us prove that the only thing more dangerous than a desperate species is a prepared one. The transmission ended. The tribunal chamber sat in heavy silence. Then the first speaker gave the order. Send the fleet. Bring them back, whatever the cost. 7,000 warships began the long journey to the galactic edge, where humanity waited. Some of the captains prayed to their various gods. Some reviewed their tactics obsessively, looking for weaknesses they might have missed. Some simply sat in their command chairs and wondered if they were sailing toward victory or toward something they could not imagine. In the dark between stars, Dongha received the report that the larger fleet was coming. He stood on the bridge of his ship, surrounded by other humans who had given up everything to seek freedom. They looked to him for guidance. They are sending 7,000 ships, he said quietly. We cannot fight them all. Not directly. A woman named Bora, who had been training soldiers in the shadows for decades, smiled grimly. Then we do not fight their ships. We fight their certainty. We fight their assumptions. We fight their belief that numbers alone will win. Dongha nodded slowly. How much time do we need to evacuate the hidden facilities? 72 hours to get everyone out safely. And how long until the fleet arrives? 48 hours. The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. They would have to buy time. They would have to make a stand against impossible odds. They would have to prove one final time that humans refused to surrender even when surrender was the only logical choice. The human fleet reached the galactic edge and stopped. Behind them, the evacuation continued. Ships loading refugees from hidden facilities, transports gathering supplies, crews saying goodbye to the only galaxy they had ever known. They needed 72 hours. They had 48 before the tribunal's fleet arrived. On the flagship, Dongha gathered the senior commanders, Taimin, Jiwoo, Hyunji, Kijun, and Bora. They stood around a tactical display showing the approaching fleet. 7,000 ships against perhaps 200 human warships and another 100 cargo vessels. The math was brutal and clear. We can scatter, Taimin suggested. Split into small groups. Make them chase us in different directions. Some of us will get through. Some is not enough, Jiwoo replied. We leave no one behind. That is the whole point of this. We all go free or none of us do. Hyunji studied the tactical map, her fingers tracing possible battle formations. We cannot win a direct fight. Even with our advantages, 7,000 ships will overwhelm us through sheer numbers. We can hurt them badly, but we will lose. Kijun, who had piloted through the cargo convoy ambush, shook his head. They are not coming here to fight. They are coming here to arrest us, to drag us back to our assigned worlds. They think this will be a police action, not a battle. We can use that. Bora, the admiral who had trained in secret for decades, smiled slowly. He is right. We do not fight 7,000 ships. We fight their certainty. We fight their assumptions. We make them afraid of what might happen if they attack. Dongha looked at each of them. Psychological warfare? Against an enemy that outnumbers us 35-1? Fear is mathematics too, Bora replied. They have 7,000 ships, but each captain is thinking about going home to their family. Each crew wants to survive. They are not warriors. They are bureaucrats in warships. We show them that attacking us costs more than they want to pay and they will hesitate. Hesitation buys time. The plan came together quickly. The human fleet would position itself at a choke point, a dense asteroid field that the tribunal fleet would have to navigate carefully. But instead of hiding, the humans would make themselves visible. They would broadcast on all frequencies. They would light up every sensor. They would beg to be seen. We want them to see us and wonder why we are not running, Bora explained. We want them to run scans, check for traps, analyze our formations. We want them to think. Every minute they spend thinking is a minute we are buying for the evacuation. 48 hours later, the tribunal fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the asteroid field. Admiral Kethvar, now commanding from a reinforced flagship surrounded by vessels from 23 species, stared at his tactical display in confusion. The human fleet sat in plain view, arranged in defensive formation but not hiding, not running, not even powering weapons. They were simply there waiting like they wanted to be found. This is wrong, Kethvar muttered. They should be fleeing. Why are they just sitting there? His tactical officer, a young Velthari who had studied historical battles obsessively, felt cold dread in his stomach. Admiral, in the Third Krillian War, the Brenthi used this exact tactic. They positioned themselves visibly and waited. When the Krillians attacked, they discovered the Brenthi had seeded the entire area with mines and ambush ships. The Krillian fleet was destroyed. That was 3,000 years ago, Kethvar said, but he ordered a full sensor sweep anyway. His confidence had been shaken by the cargo convoy incident. He was not taking chances anymore. The scans came back clean. No mines, no hidden ships, just the human fleet waiting patiently. Then Hyunji's voice filled every communication channel in both fleets. You are wondering what we are planning. You are running more scans, checking for traps, analyzing our formations. You are hesitating. Good. You should be. Kethvar felt anger rise in him. They are bluffing. They have nothing. But he did not order an attack, not yet. He ordered another scan. A single human ship broke formation and accelerated directly toward the Tribunal fleet. It was Kijun's vessel, a small fighter that should have been insignificant against 7,000 warships. Every weapon system in the fleet locked onto him. Thousands of targeting computers calculated firing solutions. Do not fire, Kethvar ordered. Let us see what he does. What Kijun did was impossible. His ship moved through the fleet like it was dancing. Turns too sharp for normal inertial dampeners. Acceleration too intense for organic crew to survive. Precision too perfect for any pilot Kethvar had ever seen. The fighter wove between capital ships, under weapons arrays through formations, never once being touched by targeting systems that should have destroyed him 10 times over. Then Kijun's ship jumped away, back to the human fleet, leaving every tribunal captain staring at their tactical displays in shock. Taemin's voice came next, calm and cold. We could kill you. We have weapons you have not imagined, tactics you have not studied, and desperation you have not felt in 10,000 years. That ship could have been carrying a tactical nuclear device. It could have self-destructed in the center of your fleet. But we let you live because we do not want to kill you. We want to leave, he paused, so we are offering one chance. Turn around, go home. Tell your tribunal that some species refuse to be caged. Let us go peacefully and no one has to discover what humans are truly capable of when we stop pretending to be harmless. The tribunal fleet sat motionless. Kethvar's orders from the first speaker were absolute. Capture or destroy the humans. But every captain in his fleet was now thinking the same thing. If they attacked and the humans were bluffing, it would be over quickly. But if they attacked and the humans were not bluffing, the casualties could be catastrophic. 6 hours passed. The two fleets faced each other in silence. Behind the human lines, the evacuation continued. Ships jumping away to safety, facilities being dismantled, people escaping the galaxy that had caged them. Every minute of standoff was a victory. Then a junior captain in the tribunal fleet, a Brenthi named Kesithor, broke formation. His species had been humiliated in the cargo convoy ambush. His family's honor demanded revenge. He did not request permission. He did not warn his superiors. He simply charged forward, weapons hot, determined to break the deadlock. His target was a large colony transport called Hope's Flight, carrying 15,000 civilian refugees. His weapons locked on. He fired. Every human ship registered the attack. Every human commander tensed. And then the galaxy learned what humans had really been hiding for 200 years. The shot streaked toward Hope's Flight, enough energy to punch through any civilian vessel. But Hope's Flight did not try to dodge. It did not need to. A shimmering field appeared around it, a defensive shield using principles the tribunal had banned 3,000 years ago because they made warfare too efficient. The Brenthi's weapons splashed harmlessly against it, and then from 17 different positions in the asteroid field, human warships decloaked. These were not cargo vessels modified for combat. These were not civilian transports with hidden weapons. These were purpose-built warships, designed from scratch by a species that had studied every conflict in galactic history and learned from every mistake. They were sleek and deadly, equipped with technologies that should not exist, crewed by people who had trained in secret for generations. Bora's voice cut through the communications like ice. You fired on civilians. The negotiation is over. What happened next was not a battle. It was a demonstration. The human warships moved with precision that made Kijun's solo flight look clumsy. They targeted Kesithor's vessel with surgical accuracy, disabling weapons, propulsion, life support, communication. Within 3 minutes, the Brenthi ship was a dead hull drifting in space. Its crew alive but helpless, a warning made tangible. Then the human warship stopped. They did not press the advantage. They did not attack the paralyzed tribunal fleet. They simply returned to formation, shield still active, weapons still charged, and waited. Bora spoke again, and every captain in the tribunal fleet heard the restraint in her voice, the choice she was making not to kill them all. This is what mercy looks like when it is a choice, not a weakness. Remember that. Remember that we could have destroyed you. Remember that we chose not to. And when you return to your tribunal, tell them that humans are leaving. Tell them that we will not be followed. Tell them that the age of comfortable prisons is over. In his command chair, Admiral Kethvar felt something he had never experienced in 200 years of military service. Fear. Not fear of death, but fear of irrelevance. Fear that everything he had learned, everything his people had built was obsolete compared to what these young, desperate humans had achieved. His tactical officer whispered, "Admiral, we should withdraw. We are outmatched." Kethvar wanted to argue, but he could not. The numbers no longer mattered. Skill mattered. Technology mattered. Will mattered. And in all three categories, the humans had proven superior. He opened a channel to Tribunal Command and requested new orders, knowing what they would be. The Tribunal's response came 3 hours later. Admiral Kethvar read the message twice, hardly believing what he was seeing. After all the preparation, all the mobilization, all the speeches about upholding galactic law, the order was simple and final. Withdraw. The calculations had been done by the Tribunal's best strategic minds. A real war against humanity would cost millions of lives. The humans had spent 200 years preparing for this exact confrontation, while the galactic military had been decorative for 10 millennia. The ships were old. The tactics were outdated. The crews had never faced real combat. Meanwhile, every human engagement had shown impossible skill, unknown technology, and a willingness to do whatever necessary to survive. More importantly, attacking would shatter the Great Peace. If the Tribunal ordered its fleets to destroy the human ships, other species would start asking questions. Why was force acceptable now but not before? If humans could be hunted for leaving, what stopped the Tribunal from hunting anyone who disagreed with them? The foundation of 10,000 years of stability was consent, not force. Using force now would admit that the peace had always been a lie, so the Tribunal chose the lesser humiliation. Let the humans go, declare them outlaws and forbid contact with them. Pretend they were an aberration, not an example. Save face, preserve the system, and hope no other species got similar ideas. Kethvar broadcast the withdrawal order to his fleet. Some captains felt relief. Others felt shame. The Krillians protested violently, demanding they be allowed to continue alone, but their objections were overruled. The massive fleet that had assembled to enforce galactic law slowly turned away from the human position and began the long journey home. As they left, they watched the last human ships jump away into dark space, beyond sensor range, beyond pursuit, beyond the reach of the Tribunal's authority. The humans disappeared into the unmapped void like they had never existed, taking with them the uncomfortable truth that some species would rather face the unknown than accept comfortable imprisonment. On the Tribunal station, the emergency session continued for days. Younger species raged about the betrayal. Older species counseled acceptance. Vexthorn presented his complete findings about human activities over 2 centuries. A report so detailed and comprehensive that it made clear humanity had been planning their escape since the day they signed the first treaty. "They played us," a Krillian representative hissed. Every smile was a lie. Every agreement was deception. Every year of apparent compliance was preparation for this. The first speaker, ancient and tired, responded quietly. They did what they had to do to survive in a system that gave them no choice. We offered them membership in our community, but we never offered them freedom. They chose freedom. We cannot fault them for wanting what we ourselves would want if our positions were reversed. So we just let them go? The Krillian demanded. We admit defeat? We admit reality, the first speaker replied. And the reality is that we forgot something important. We forgot that intelligent species need to grow, to explore, to challenge themselves. We created perfect order and called it peace. But order without growth is just slow death. The humans reminded us of this. Whether we learn from the reminder is up to us. A screen activated without being called. It was a message flagged as high priority, transmitted from deep space beyond the galactic edge. The source was a human vessel and the sender was Taemin. The tribunal chamber fell silent as his face appeared. He wore no uniform now, no tactical gear, just simple clothes. He looked tired but content. "This is my final message to the tribunal," Taemin said. "Not a threat. Not a warning. Just a statement of truth. We are not your enemies. We never were. We are simply a species that refused to stop growing. You created a galaxy where ambition was illegal and curiosity was punished. We could not live in that galaxy, so we left to build our own." Behind him, the camera showed what the humans were building, a massive station under construction, surrounding an enormous facility that looked like it was designed to be a city in space. Hundreds of ships moved around it, working together, creating something new. "Where we are going, there are no maps," Taemin continued. "No treaties. No boundaries. No ancient authorities telling us what we can and cannot do. It will be dangerous. We will face challenges you cannot imagine. Many of us will probably die trying to build something better, but we will do it anyway, because humans would rather die free than live safely in chains." He paused, and his expression softened. "If your species ever remember how to dream again, you will know where to find us. We will be out here in the dark, proving that there is always more, that growth never has to stop, that the only real limit is the one you accept. Until then, stay safe in your comfortable galaxy. We will not judge you for choosing security over adventure. We will just pity you for forgetting that life without risk is not life at all." The transmission ended. The tribunal chamber sat in heavy silence. No one spoke for several minutes. Finally, the first speaker called for a vote on the official response. The options were simple: declare humanity exiled and forbidden, or acknowledge their departure as legitimate. The vote was closer than anyone expected. In the end, exile won, but barely. The official record would state that humanity had violated the Great Pacification Treaty and were no longer welcome in civilized space. But everyone in that chamber knew the truth. Humanity had not been exiled. They had left. And that made all the difference. Far beyond the galactic edge, in dark space where no tribunal sensor could reach, the human fleet gathered around their new construction. Dongha stood on the observation deck of the flagship, watching as thousands of people worked together to build humanity's first free city among the stars. Around him stood Jiwoo, Taemin, Hyunji, Bora, Kijun, and countless others who had given up everything for this moment. "Do you think they will follow eventually?" Jiwoo asked quietly. Dongha considered the question. "Some will. The ones who remember that stagnation is just slow death. The ones who wake up one day and realize their entire civilization has not created anything new in 1,000 years. The ones who look at the stars and feel something the tribunal tried to kill, those ones will come looking for us." "And the others?" Kijun asked. "The others will stay where they are," Hyunji replied. "They will convince themselves that we were the problem, not the system. They will tighten their rules to prevent anyone else from leaving. They will be comfortable and safe and slowly dying, and they will tell themselves they are happy." Bora smiled. "Then we are better off out here. We did not triumph over them. We triumphed over their system. We proved that no cage can hold a species determined to be free. That is the only victory that matters." Taemin looked out at the construction, at the future being built by human hands in the void. "We have 70 years of supplies, 100 if we ration carefully. No trade with the galaxy, no support network, no safety net. Just us in the dark and whatever we can build with our own skills." "Sounds like every human story ever told," Dongha said with a slight smile. "We go somewhere impossible, face odds we should not survive, and build something anyway. Our ancestors crossed oceans in wooden boats. They walked into deserts with nothing but hope. They launched themselves into space on controlled explosions. This is what we do. This is what we have always done." The observation deck fell quiet as everyone watched the construction. The massive structure was taking shape, a city that would house millions eventually. A home built beyond the reach of anyone who would limit them. It was beautiful and ambitious and completely insane, exactly like humanity itself. 10 years, Jiwoo said suddenly. "I give it 10 years before the first non-human species shows up asking to join us." 20 years, Taemin countered. "It will take that long for word to spread, for the idea to take root, for others to realize what we have proven." 50 years, Hyunji said. "That is how long it will take for the tribunal to collapse under its own weight. Then they will all come looking for what we built." Dongha shook his head. "Does not matter. However long it takes, we will be here, building, growing, exploring. proving that there is always more, that no limit is final, that the future belongs to those brave enough to reach for it. Far behind them, visible as a bright glow against the darkness, the galaxy continued its slow rotation, 300 species living in careful order, maintaining their peace, following their rules, staying in their designated zones. From this distance it looked small and fragile, beautiful but finite. "We should name this place," Kijun suggested. They considered for a moment. Then Bora spoke, her voice carrying certainty. "New beginning, because that is what this is. Not an escape, not an exile, a beginning. The first chapter of what happens when humans stop pretending to be content and start building what they actually want." The name felt right. They all nodded in agreement. Over the following months, the construction accelerated. More ships arrived from the evacuated facilities. More people joined the project. The city grew day by day, a testament to human determination, human skill, and human refusal to accept that what exists is all that can exist. And in the galaxy behind them, the tribunal continued its sessions, maintained its peace, and pretended that nothing had changed.